Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Under the Sun and Moon podcast with Michelle and Kes. I am Kes.
And I am Michelle.
And
it's been a little while. I know we've said this before.
Yeah.
But you know, we had started podcasting in late March.
Yes.
Of course, we didn't get it posted until, I don't know, maybe May
June or July.
And then, and then we had a big delay. And then we've dropped a bunch of podcasts recently. Within the last 4 weeks, I think we've dropped 4 or 5.
Not that many. I think more like 2 or 3.
Oh, no.
More?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right.
And we have a couple more coming in the pike that are going to be done very soon.
Okay.
Where we talk about healthcare.
Yes.
You know, and trying to fight for your healthcare. And then there's another one on, remind me the one I'm missing? Madam Editor.
Oh, I need to watch the movies.
Oh, the movie, right. Well, no, one that's done. The healthcare
one
one
that's
is done
done. Okay.
in the pipeline.
There's one that's done.
Oh, fashion.
Where we talk about fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's another one that's done where we talk about
Health and healthcare.
Health and healthcare. And
brain cramping today. We're brain cramping today. But there's a reason why we're brain cramping today. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, yes.
There is. There's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there's the usual things with life. You know, we're doing the podcast and we're trying to keep up with that. And we really appreciate that we're getting more followers and more listeners, so we're super excited about that. We're hoping to post some more photos and be a little bit more interactive with people.
We're not good at Instagram.
I'm very good at Instagram. I think fairly good, as people in my age group go. For my sewing business.
Mm-hmm. I'm good for my photo business. I'm not good for my personal, and I'm not good for the podcast.
Well, I don't know if I'm not good for my personal or if it just doesn't. It's personal, so I don't feel obligated to keep up with that.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been hard with the podcast, trying to get photos up and posted.
And also,
did you take pictures on Saturday?
I have a few.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So we'll post some of those because Kes and Wyatt were at the Friendship Festival in the area where we live in Ravenna. It was Saturday.
I made a reel about it.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so she made a reel. Did you share it to our page also?
I shared it to the story.
To the story. Okay,
yeah.
We can also get it up on the page.
Yeah.
And so she was there with her photography, promoting her business.
Yep.
Met some really interesting people, including a woman that wants to have a
Norse wedding.
That's which
awesome.
Sounds super exciting.
Shout out to Bree. Hi, Bree.
Yeah, and Bree, one of our listeners.
Yeah.
Long-time listener, first time, introduction on Saturday.
I know.
And her husband was there, Wyatt,
mm-hmm.
Which we just released that podcast just before the weekend came and went.
Yep.
Promoting him because he also has a business on the side. Call Me Buck Creations.
Yes.
Where Wyatt, one of the things that he does, I mean, he streams online and he chats with people and plays video games with them, but one of the services that he provides is he does tarot card readings.
Yeah.
And so he was doing readings for people at the Friendship Festival.
And he profited at his first ever, festival/craft fair thing.
Yeah, it was
that
interesting
was cool.
too for the in-person because a lot of people said that they wanted a reading but they were afraid of
yep.
what they would find out. So
that was super interesting to me.
That was very interesting when I heard that. Actually, one of my aunts.
I was about to say, she was
like she leaned to me and she whispered, "What is he doing?" And I said, "He does tarot card readings." And she's like, "Oh, I'm scared."
Yeah,
That's what she said.
I was about to say, a few of our friends and family members were like, that's really cool, but I'm too scared to do it. I can't do it. But,
hopefully more people will pick up with the fact that Wyatt's not like a movie tarot card reading that's presenting ominous information.
He approaches
it as it's a conversation with the person. And
yeah, he's also takes a non-denominational approach,
mm-hmm.
so he's not trying to convert you to anything. He just wants to talk to you.
Yeah, and the cards are really what you and he did have one person who got a reading who was like, I totally know what this is.
Yeah.
So.
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was able to relate to each of the readings that he was doing, but that one woman in particular had the biggest reaction, and that was really cool.
That's cool. So we'll post some photos from that.
Yes.
We've got some other photos coming up. Hopefully more things to share with you guys as we build our following and the business.
Yes.
Because we need to keep moving things along.
Yeah.
I got some ideas for some more people to interview.
Yep.
I definitely want to talk to my life coach. I think we've mentioned that before.
Yep.
I just finished up a boot camp with her. She's great.
I would love to be able to get one of my old classmates on here, or maybe even a few of them. I think they'd really enjoy it.
From college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, also
we've had that going on.
I did what I said I never wanted to do. I got a part-time job.
Yeah, because sometimes
you mentioned it as being able to help my family, and that was something that made me feel better about it.
Yeah.
So I have a new part-time job to help with like rent and just living.
Yeah. Because we all have to contribute.
Yeah, but also it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like I work at a grocery store, but like I know a
She
lot of the
works in a
people.
grocery store in the town she grew up in.
Yeah, so I know a lot of the people that come through the lines. I know a lot of people that I work with. I went to school with a lot of the people that I work with.
And if you can't tell, Kes is very social.
Yes.
She loves to chat with people.
Yeah.
So running the cash register in a small local grocery store is almost the perfect job for her.
I know. And it's like, nothing's like really challenging about it. Everybody's super nice.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Put my feet up. I can't reach the floor.
Sorry, Mom.
That's okay.
But
so that happened. Wyatt started a new job last week.
Yep.
I had a big craft event on Saturday, and I've got a huge order that I'm trying to fill through the sewing business.
Yep. And this week is
The
interesting.
2-year anniversary
Of Dad passing away.
of my husband passing away tomorrow. We're recording this on August 30th.
Yeah.
He passed away on August 31st, 2019.
Yeah. Which is weird. Not just in the sense of Dad being gone, but also tomorrow is my anniversary.
Right, so 4 years ago.
4 years ago, Wyatt and I started dating.
On August 31st.
Of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was talking to him about it last night, and I've been talking to him about it throughout this past week. I was like, do you want to do anything? Like, it's not, I don't really know what to do. Like, I didn't know what to do last year. I don't know what to do this time around. He's like, just treat it like a normal day. Just go to work. Just take your time. Don't try and force yourself to do anything specific that you don't want to do or you don't feel like you'll get anything out of.
Yeah.
Just do. So, I am working tomorrow. I am going to take that time to just do. But then later...
It keeps you busy, keeps your mind on other things.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see the people, in a decent situation where people are usually nice to you and they're chatty and...
Yeah.
And so it's better, I think, than spending all day dwelling on the fact that it's a 2-year anniversary. But we're also going to be marking the anniversary, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about grief before. We actually just did a post on grief recently. It went up maybe two weeks ago now. Did grief
with
go
my
up?
photos of the exhibition?
Yeah. Maybe 10 days at this
yeah,
point.
it's been
It
a
hasn't
little
been long.
over a week.
But this is about talking about finding joy and taking positive moments
Yeah.
from the grief.
Which
Might sound weird, but
I was about
again,
to say.
it's our mission
uh-huh.
to talk about grief and to normalize it and to not make it a taboo subject that people are super awkward and uncomfortable about.
Because it's not weird.
It's not. People die every single day. We're not saying it's not sad. It is horribly heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't. I mean, granted, it affects everybody differently.
Right.
There are general similar symptoms of grief that everybody can have, but overall, everybody has a different experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a very upsetting, very hard thing to experience. It's a very hard thing to feel, but there are some good things that come out of it, as weird as it may seem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any examples of your own that you want to start with?
Well, the first thing was that I can think of was that because your dad had been sick, even though it was not technically an illness, but we refer to it as being sick for a while,
mm-hmm.
and we knew he was going to pass away, and I was just exhausted from being a caregiver. We gave ourselves, as a family, the time to we did not have a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
We're atheists, and your dad was very clear. He did not want to have he didn't want to have something that people could turn into a religious event.
Or also something that would make people really sad.
He wanted a party.
Yeah.
And so that gave me time to step back and kind of plan an event. We called it a memorial,
mm-hmm.
a day in remembrance of him. And he passed away August 31st. We held it on October 19th.
Yeah.
So a good probably, I think, 8 or so weeks after he passed away. And the good thing that came out of that was that it was actually a really positive day. A lot of people showed up. Obviously, this is pre-COVID. It was only 5 months pre-COVID when you get back. I can't believe it was just that close.
I know.
But a lot of people showed up, and we played music. We made a playlist. I made a playlist that was, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I think there's like 7 hours of music on that playlist.
Well, I still have it. Oh, no.
I have it. Yeah.
I put it together on my phone. I sent it to you, and you added.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we played that. We had music.
We had a slideshow. We had a ton of food.
A lot of photos in the slideshow. A lot of food. People came and went. It was very relaxed, very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of sadness. People telling great stories.
Yeah.
About him. And just a chance to see people again that we hadn't seen in a while. A, because we lived in another state for a long time.
Right.
And B, because caregiving isolates you and keeps you separated from people.
I was going to say, a lot of people came out of the woodworks for this.
Mm-hmm.
In particular,
they were there for us. They were there to support us.
Yeah, they weren't there for the sake of saying that they showed up and did something.
Right.
But, for example, my dad had a half-sister that
mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen since I was 10 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So
I think you were younger, actually.
Yeah, so for the first time in over 10 years, I saw my aunt, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had friends, come from out of state to see, or to, be there for us and to be able to just be there.
His half-brother showed up.
Yep.
I saw his stepmother.
Yep.
He has nieces and nephews that I had never met until that day.
Same here, yeah.
So that was nice.
There were people he worked with that came.
Yeah, people that he worked with, people that I had worked with at different jobs, including the museum.
Yeah. That
showed up, and family was there, and it was a joyful, positive day.
Yeah. Not everything was great about it because it's not an easy event.
No.
But in general, it was pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. And I think that fulfilled our needs better than a traditional type of approach.
Yeah, because we've both been to, and this is not bashing, funerals or wakes or anything like that.
No, because it needs to serve you, the griever.
Right. So if you, we didn't want to have one, but that doesn't mean you don't need to have one just because of our experience and all that stuff. But I feel like if we had gone the traditional route, because you and I have both been to traditional funerals. Actually, we're going to another one soon, but
Oh gosh, I went to one for your dad's grandmother on the Stefanik side.
Yeah.
That was service at the funeral home.
Uh-huh.
Drove several miles to a church.
Oh, yeah.
Full Catholic Mass.
Mm-hmm.
Drove to the cemetery.
Yeah.
Full service at the cemetery.
Oh my God.
It was probably 5 hours before we, like, I sat down in a chair that was not outside or not in a car moving.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was really long distance too, from the funeral home to the church.
Yeah.
She was buried in a traditional Polish cemetery outside of Amsterdam, New York.
Yeah.
That was a long day. So yeah, I've.
And I remember, one of my friends, he died when he was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't actually, like, have a funeral until this year, because it was the 5-year anniversary of when he passed.
Mm-hmm.
But he did have a wake when he died, like, the week after or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was huge.
It always is when young people pass away.
Yeah, so I remember me and my friend, we carpooled together.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad drove us. We went to the funeral home that it was being held at, and there were, like, not at that time, but people had come and went, and there was almost 600 people that had gone to see him. And, like, I was 16. Like, I was... It was hot. It was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sit down because I almost passed out. Like, there was a whole thing. It was just, ugh. But also, I remember, just from the other funerals I've gone to, thinking about how he would have wanted to have something like that
Mm-hmm.
was totally not any of the ones that we had ever gone to.
Oh, you mean your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted something different.
Make that transition.
He wanted something unique.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted something that was not sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like you. You know, he was very social. He loved to just talk. He would talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he did not have to know you. He would just go up to you and talk to you.
He was also, like, really... I loved when he did Time Tunnel. Him working with the kids and everything.
That's the summer camp that we did at the State Museum in Albany.
Yeah, that was, like, I loved that. He would just talk to
parents,
all the people.
Adults, lifeguards.
Yeah,
anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was very chatty and, you know, just enjoyed being social. And so we really wanted to try to have an event that kind of encompassed that. It was at the local firehouse, so it was not affiliated with a church or anything like that.
He was a member.
He had been a member very briefly of that fire company, joined right after we moved back.
But he had been a part of their drum corps for a long
time before that. He was actually one of the founding members of the drum corps.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've been working on finding those happy, joyful moments amongst the grief.
Yeah, and there's actually, to kind of pivot a little bit, in my head, this sounds like a weird thing to take out of a positive of it.
Mm-hmm.
But literally,
mm-hmm.
my capstone would not have happened. And I don't want to make it sound like I used him for the sake of the success that I got out of it.
No, that's not what this is about.
But being able to go through the hell of
his illness.
And then
loss,
losing him and then afterward, which
mm-hmm.
is still hard.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much his passing and his illness would affect my ability to, I don't know. Grow. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put
mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Because, like...
Develop.
Mm-hmm.
Mature.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed, which I think is a good thing just because that's a wall that I didn't have to, like, put up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking to... When I was seeing the counselor at my college's campus,
yeah,
I remember telling her, I was like, because she would ask me every day, like, how I was doing, how I was feeling, just the general stuff. And I was like, I've noticed that I've been angry more often,
mm-hmm.
which is super not like me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never really tapped into my anger almost at all. I was usually anywhere from sad to stressed to frustrated to, like, distraught
mm-hmm.
almost.
Yeah.
But I was never angry. And when, after Dad passed, I realized I was actually feeling anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, like, I wasn't, like, lashing out at everybody or anybody at all. It was just, I realized that I had this emotion that I had been bottling up for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could never really figure out how to tap into it.
Right.
And it would make me frustrated because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But us, like, kind of teaming up with realizing that I could feel this emotion was the fact that I kind of grew more of a backbone.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
there's a positive.
Yeah, like I've explained it to you before. Like, I am much less of a bullshit tolerator now.
Mm-hmm.
I have, like, reasonably and with good intentions, had to go into conflicts with other people to get them to realize that this was a problem that needed to be fixed.
That's the side of you that you get from your father.
Yeah.
And I think that, this experience has allowed you to tap into it at a younger age, because that was something that he matured into and grew into, I would say, more in his 40s.
Yeah. You said that before.
Yeah.
Not here, but I've heard you say it.
So this experience, brought that forward for you. And although it might not sound like joy to some people,
right,
it is a very satisfying feeling to be able to stand up for yourself, and to be able to stand up for others when they ask for it.
Yeah.
When they want someone to be there for them.
Yeah.
And to be able to strategically say to someone else, it's time for you to stop, and I'm going to tell you why.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had, since he passed away, I've had a few moments where I would just, I've had to say that to a few people, and then afterward I would be like, I've never done that before. This is weird and new.
But also good.
Yeah.
Because it's empowering. Yeah.
So that's another positive.
That is a big positive.
What about you?
I was gonna say, for anyone who listens that has gone through the FTD journey, or the traumatic brain injury journey, or just any form of dementia, and they are a caregiver to a loved one who they watch diminish over time, there's a lot of grief that you experience throughout the process.
Shall we say ambiguous?
Ambiguous grief.
Yeah.
That is the label for it.
I know it's weird, but I love that.
Because because you lose things, but you haven't lost the person yet. And so people will find themselves saying, why do I feel like I'm grieving? They're still here. But you are grieving. And, and we lost a lot in the process of Dad's deterioration.
Yeah.
But we also gained that he was so sweet toward the end, and gentle. It was like having a big giant child.
Yeah.
Who just wanted to be hugged all the time, have someone hold his hand.
Yeah.
To have those really tender moments.
Yeah. And
when everything was really, really difficult.
Yeah. It did, I will say, it took a little bit for him to get there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because dementia tests the whole family.
Right, but also
the anger, the frustration.
Because that was one of the first signs.
And I'm talking about the patient.
Right. The first signs that you and I noticed was that he was biting at me. He and I were arguing.
He would, and you two never argued.
No, that was, like, not a thing.
Yeah.
But afterward, when he started to,
because their brains are constantly changing.
Right. It was, I don't know, it was kind of, I might cry, but
you became like the parent.
Yeah, that was a good and a bad, kind of.
No, I know.
Just because I never ever wanted to parent you or Dad.
Right, but it happens.
Yeah.
It does.
But yeah, also, towards the end, although some of the things he did were scary, like, you okay?
Sorry. Yeah. Oh.
I don't know if I'm gonna leave this in here, but when he opened the car door while we were still driving.
Oh, yeah, and tried to get out of the car door. Mm-hmm.
And he thought it was hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was laughing. And I was like,
yeah.
what the hell's wrong with you? And he was just sitting in the back seat, still trying to get out of the car.
Well, that's that's the frontal brain diminishment, not making good decisions. And also, he suffered from pseudobulbar affect.
Yeah.
Because he also had bulbar onset ALS symptoms at the same time. And he would have, like, the weirdest, like, almost creepy, goofy, like, I'm talking Joker-type grin on his face most of the time. And so he would do this inappropriate emotional response to things.
Mm-hmm. But, like, when it wasn't
and then you couldn't get him back in the car.
Right.
And he's walking down the street. I'm driving with the car door open. Or you're driving? I can't remember who was driving.
Here's what happened. You got out of the car.
I just remember chaos.
No, this was after one of his doctor's appointments, by the way. So you pushed him literally back into the car, shut the door. I switched with you, and I drove like 5 miles an hour back up to our driveway, which was like around the corner.
He managed to get the door open again because he was still very strong.
Yeah.
So at the same time that it was terrifying, he was laughing his butt off.
I know.
And I couldn't help but laugh at him or laugh with him. It was hysterical at the same time. So we're grieving. We're really, we are emotionally suffering, but at the same time, we're able to see the joy and the laughter.
Oh my God.
In some of these just absurd moments.
Or in some of the more, like you were saying, the more tender and sweeter moments, the puppies.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God. My aunt, my mom's sister, her German Shepherd had puppies. Like,
probably in the middle of his illness.
I think it was like December.
It was like around month 9 of the roughly 18-month journey.
Yeah, and so there was one puppy in particular that he was all about.
Oh my gosh.
And
he would constantly hold this dog. And he could barely speak, but he could say, our new puppy.
Yeah.
Puppy. And he would hold the dog and bring it right up close to me and make this he'd push out his bottom lip and he'd go, puppy. And I'd be like, no, there's no puppy in our lives right now.
But he would also, because you live in the apartment below my aunt's house, he would bring it downstairs to you.
Oh, and try to introduce it to the dog.
Yeah.
This is his new baby brother. And I was like, absolutely not. This is a negative. I'm saying no. But
he also thought that was funny, too.
He would laugh.
Yeah. Because I don't know if he was like, he found it, his brain was totally different.
It's hard. It's always hard to tell with an FTD patient exactly what they're thinking or feeling.
But I couldn't tell if he enjoyed like getting the rise out of you, or
because
he
always was like that.
Yes, because that.
You're laughing.
Sorry. I just thought of something else. One of the ways that he would get a rise out of you, that's one of my favorite things, is when he would talk about 300 being a documentary.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or that.
Yeah, it's not.
Although
it is based on a true story, but there's so much artificial crap in that movie. Or when he would say, he would call me not a real scientist.
Oh, he would say archaeology's not a real science.
Archaeology's not a real science, and then I would have to go right up one side of him and down the other. And he did it jokingly because it was an issue that had occurred when we used to work at the State Museum. And he just knew that it irritated me. So we would have those conversations. Or he would try to get me to watch some stupid TV show about Bigfoot or Atlantis. And I would be like, I'm not watching this crap.
Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He got a real rise out of that.
But
the puppies, that was super sweet.
Yeah, and it was always the same one, too. Because it was the white one.
Yeah.
Because, my aunt would color code them with different colored collars. He would always pick up the white one, no matter what the white one was doing.
Yeah, eating, peeing, didn't matter.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
He'd pick it up, wake it up. I'm like, Dad, you have to put the puppy down. He has to sleep. And he's like, white. And I'm like...
we just, white. I love this puppy. Yeah. Well, that was around the time where you introduced him to Instagram.
Oh, God.
And the double tap, being able to double tap an image.
There is one time.
To if you want to like a post on Instagram, and he would just constantly, like, I don't know if I can, let me hold the phone up to the microphone.
Yeah, he would just
tap constantly, and I'd be like, okay, I think that the app knows that you like it. But in particular, I would show him at night, trying to get him to calm down because he had terrible insomnia because of his condition. I would show him videos that I found on Instagram of babies.
Yes.
Puppies.
Yeah.
Babies with puppies.
Yeah.
Goats.
Yep.
Yeah, puppies with baby goats.
Yep.
Puppies with baby sheep.
Yep.
So all of those sorts of things, and maybe there was ducklings involved too at times, and he loved them.
Which that one was really interesting because I remember before he hit his head and before he started deteriorating, there was a moment where I had been kind of new-ish to Instagram. And I was finding all of the animals on Instagram because I love them. And I would constantly show him, like, different cute animals I would find. And he's like, that's really sweet, but I'm just not that interested in it.
Right. And then he has traumatic encephalopathy from this head injury.
And all of a sudden, he's a big softie for
all of a sudden, he's like, baby animals. It was the sweetest thing.
There was... In particular, because I learned, like, as quickly, but as time went on, the one Instagram account that he loved to...
Go ahead, yeah.
The one Instagram account that he loved for me to show him was a... was it... Or no, it wasn't an Eskimo. It was a Samoyed named Maya, and her username is Maya the polar bear because she looks like a big fluffy polar bear, and she would wear different hats and she would do different dances. And that was the one where he would, like, on the phone. So,
you know what else he loved on Instagram?
What?
The how-to hacks.
Oh, really?
The hack videos,
like the 5-minute. Things
oh my god,
hacks.
yeah, or like, turn a paper bag into a plant holder.
Yeah,
like those kinds of. He would be mesmerized. And the nice thing was that they were short and quick. Because you couldn't hold his attention.
No.
So something was constantly new.
Right.
Something was constantly refreshing or coming up, which is great for someone with a short attention span.
Yeah, like
in that sort of situation.
Movies weren't really able to be watched by him anymore because they were too long.
Although, and some of them were really, really hard on him.
Yeah.
So that, they were depressing, I think, at times.
Yeah.
He loved all of a sudden sitting down and watching, like,
The Greatest Showman.
National Geographic things with animals in it. And, we watched a show with volcanoes in it, which is one of those moments that I will never forget, where he was completely nonverbal eventually and could barely talk. He could say yeah or no, and he could shake his head yes and no, although with his form of dementia, sometimes no meant yes and sometimes yes meant no. And so you had to try to figure out what was going on. So completely nonverbal. This is his communication method. And out of nowhere, one time we're watching the show and he goes, pyroclastic flow. My head spun around so fast, and I looked at him dead on, and I'm like, seriously, this is what you say? He just smiled. That goofy grin.
Because, I think we've said this before, a lot of people confuse frontotemporal dementia with being memory loss.
Right, and it's not necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
Although there are people that lose some of their memory, this is not an Alzheimer's type of disease.
No, but he still retained a lot of the information that he had always known. So he would just... There were some times where... there was one time I picked up a rock from my aunt's driveway, and I handed it to him. And he just, like, I can't remember when this was. I think this was before, I think this was May, actually. This was around the time of his diagnosis, or just after, and it was early June. But I handed him the rock, and I was like, this looks really cool, right? And he's like, I can't remember what he said, but he said, like, the type of rock where he was, like, igneous or something, or sedimentary. And I was like, huh. Anything else? And he's like,
Sedimentary it is.
No, and it just walked away.
Yeah, because it was shale. It's crushed. Yeah. Yeah, we were driving down the road one time. We used to take him for rides just to try to keep him occupied. This was before he started deciding to jump out of the car. But he was nonverbal for the most part. And we're driving past this one house, and I'm like, every time I look at this house, that side patio is just amazing. It's so beautiful the way they laid out the stone, and they've got this really beautiful support wall along it. And I go, oh, look, they have solar. I didn't even realize that they had that. And he goes, remember, nonverbal, photovoltaic cells. And for a minute, I was quiet, and then I was like, yep, you're absolutely right. That's what they are.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
So yeah, there are these moments of joy. During, hopefully people find them, during not just the grieving process after loss, but during those moments of ambiguous loss where you've got someone that's terminally ill, and hopefully they're finding these moments within. Now, since he's been gone, it's been difficult, especially with the pandemic.
That didn't make anything easier.
Actually, I gotta say, I was talking to my life coach today for the very last time because we ended our sessions today. I gotta admit, for the first probably 8 to 9 months of the pandemic, I was totally cool with it. Because I really didn't want to go anywhere anyway.
Yeah, and we're not talking about, like,
not people being sick or dying or anything.
No.
I mean, just being shut up, the shutdown part of it, being closed up in the house, not really able to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing. I'm sure it's not nice to some people, but I can't wait, the look on your face.
What?
But, when people complained, like, I can't go out to dinner or I miss my friends, after being a caregiver to someone who was terminally ill, I would find myself saying to the television or when I read things online, too damn bad. Suck it up.
Jesus Christ.
But, when you're trapped in the house and you're caregiving for someone and you hear people that are like, I've been in the house for 6 weeks, I just want to go on vacation. Seriously? Shut up.
Yeah.
I don't even care. So I really enjoyed it, actually, because it gave me time to grieve.
Yeah.
And not have to deal with people.
I feel like...
The problem is that I'm ready now to move forward.
Yeah.
And the world is still kind of in the grips of the Delta variant and other things going on.
I feel like being able to be in lockdown was beneficial in some of the ways that you said, like being able to like have my space and grieve and just
we were all together as a family.
Yeah, that was really nice too, was that I wasn't like, when I was on campus and I went back to school after he passed away, it was weird because, like, I needed my alone time, but I could never really find it because I was around everybody all the time. But at least I was around everybody all the time with people that I was comfortable with being around with all the time.
Right, that's true.
But I had the problem of when we came back, it wasn't the people, it wasn't really, like, where we were, it was the material surroundings. Because I, like, obviously, how's the rain?
It's coming and going.
Okay. Like, obviously, his stuff is still just around your apartment and stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time not necessarily, like, looking at the objects and be like, oh, this used to be his, or, like, this, or, like, he should be wearing this right now, or he should be doing this, that, and the other thing. I didn't have that problem with the materials. It was just the fact that it was a space of his that he is not in anymore.
Right.
That was my issue. Because, like, I actually got a lot of joy out of the things that we would find of his, like when we went through the storage unit. Like, we found an unbelievable amount of his books.
Yeah.
We found a lot of his clothes, his backpacks, things like that. And I always liked, when we were going through his stuff, finding things that he had written.
Yeah.
Because that has literally him written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot of notes from work. A lot of like field notes and mathematical equations and not a lot of like written communication per se.
But his thoughts.
Of course, the beer book.
True.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah.
I actually used a part of that book for one of my classes, but I sectioned off where he wrote and just used everything else. Because every other page that was blank. Because, I found that he did this a lot, before he was sick, just in general. He would flip to a page, but he would accidentally skip a page that was empty that he could have used.
I always do that.
Yeah. And so...
I need that white space in between.
Yeah, but he would do it on accident.
Oh,
just because of his... his fingers.
It's true. He was a really big guy, and he would always say he had fat fingers. But because he worked with his hands a lot, his fingers were very dry and rough, and it was hard for him
to grip.
Yeah, be that fine motor coordination was just never quite always there with him.
Yeah. So, I would find each of these pages in his beer book, which, for those of you who don't know what it is, it was a book.
About beer.
About beer, where he wrote down the brand.
When he sampled beers, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote down the brand. He wrote down where he bought it or something.
Yes, yeah, because if he liked it and he wanted to go back to get it, he couldn't always get it in the same place. I was just talking to Jennifer about this earlier.
Oh, really?
About the Country Fresh Market. In Anderson.
Man.
And they had this great wine and beers, and they had beers from all over the place. So he would go there and pick out a 6-pack of variety. You could just buy beer by the bottle, and he would fill a 6-pack, and then we'd go up to the register and so he kept track of those beers in case there was something he wanted to go back to, or in case there was something where he was like, never drink this again.
But that's kind of, as much as it was difficult being in the space that belonged to him without him there.
Yeah.
A joy that I found after he passed away was being able to find that stuff of his and just look through it or read it or whatever.
Yeah, and be reminded.
Yeah. And it was really, one of the things that's another joy of mine that I feel like is really funny is that because of all the stories that people have told me about him and all of the things that you have told me about him, I know him better now than I ever did when he was alive.
Sure. Also, that will continue to happen simply because you were so young when he died. You had barely turned 20. And although at 22, I'm sure you think you're a mature adult, and you are, and you're not.
Yeah.
You're still a good 4 years away from your brain being fully developed.
Yes.
You're going to learn so much more in that time period, and you'll be able to look back and reflect on things and have a better perspective looking back into the past.
Yeah, because, my birthday was on the 5th, and he passed on the 31st.
Right,
so
there's only 26 days in between.
I was fresh into my 20s, and happy birthday, and then, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, not everybody else, but so many other people knew him more, not necessarily more, but just in different ways than I did.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it, in different ways, because to you, he's your dad.
Right.
Some people he was a friend, to some people he was a co-worker, to some people he was
a guy in the grocery store aisle.
Yeah, you never know. He was the guy that rode the motorcycle.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
That was cool. All of his bikes were cool. Well, almost all of them.
I think one of the other big things about joy and grief is, for me, I don't know about for you, but when the family gets together.
Yeah.
And we talk about these people, and we just, it's the food and the sitting around the table and talking about things from, telling these stories.
Yeah.
And talking about things from the past. Those are... I find them to be very joyous and not very sad most of the time. Of course, I think we do choose to talk about the happy rather than the sad. There are some really painful things from your dad's history that that could be discussed. But
right. And throughout his life, not just while he was
absolutely.
sick.
Yep. Throughout his life, he had a really hard life.
Uh-huh.
And it's okay to talk about those things, absolutely, and
Sure.
remember him. I think it's important to remember that he was a well-balanced person.
It's good to remember him as a human, not just as a good time.
But I think our point is that when someone is terminally ill or very, very sick, even not terminally ill, but long-term illness, or has passed away, that you can still find moments of joy in that experience, in that relationship, in the things that are happening, right?
Yeah. Oh, another joy while he was sick was cutting his hair.
It was super fun.
But it was funny because, we knew that he couldn't really sit still for a long time.
No, he could not.
But when I was able to, get him to sit down and cut his hair and everything, it was just funny because he would try and take the razor from me and shave my head.
Like he was trying to mess with you, which was consistent with his personality.
Yeah.
After he had the head injury, he had a definite personality change, but toward the end, he'd started to swing back into who he had been in the past, and that is absolutely something that he would have done, is at least pretended to shave your head. The only problem was that he didn't have the problem-solving skills, and he did come dangerously close to actually shaving your head at one point.
Because he would, there were points where I actually had to, push back on him, and he would really force, try and get towards me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know you're joking, but please stop. But,
all 6'1", 210 pounds of solid muscle. Because he was diagnosed on May 24th, and the last time he was at the gym was May 6th.
Yeah.
And he was lifting weights and working out.
Yeah. He would,
Your father was very, very strong.
Yeah. Excuse me. But it was just funny because what used to take a good 20-25 minutes to cut his hair turned into a much longer time. Because it was now trying to fight him off. Not literally, but trying to get him to sit down and not shave my head along with his. But also just because he would just get up and walk around, and I'm like, I'd ask him every once in a while, once he would get up and walk away, and I'm like, do you want to finish this? And he's like, he'd shake his head no at me and be like, no. And then he would come back and sit down.
Right, yeah, because the no means yes and yes means no. And are you in pain? No. Would you like me to give you, are you sure? No. You want some Tylenol? No. But then he would hold his hand out.
Or open his mouth.
For the pills. Yeah.
That was,
You know what? I'm going to tell you a story that's really interesting. So, Graham.
Yeah.
So your dad's maternal grandmother.
Yes.
She had Alzheimer's, and we assumed she had Alzheimer's. That was, hers was completely memory from beginning to end, and then eventually, what the other things that come with Alzheimer's, she couldn't remember how to feed herself, or she couldn't walk anymore, things like that.
Incontinence, things like that.
Yeah, so towards the end of her illness, but not too far along, I used to go and sit with her and just listen to her talk.
Yeah, I did that too.
I have to totally recommend this to anyone that has someone in their life, especially when there's a good age difference. If they have Alzheimer's and if they're still willing to talk to you, because she clearly lost her memory from most recent into the past, and so each time you saw her, you didn't really know what period in her life you would be visiting her at,
right?
But you knew that she would be mentally, in her memory, younger than she was the last time you saw her.
Yes.
So, for example, she she went through a period where she couldn't remember what she ate for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was she couldn't remember if she had eaten that day.
Right.
Or she couldn't remember the week.
Right.
And eventually she couldn't remember her great-grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't remember her grandchildren.
Yeah.
Except for she remembered you.
Yeah.
And she never forgot your dad.
No.
So there were certain things that stuck in her head.
Mm-hmm.
One day she woke up and she said, why is all my furniture in my mother's house? So
Yeah.
she knew it was the house that her mother had built in 1948.
Yeah.
But she couldn't figure out why her furniture was in her mom's house. So she didn't remember, like, all of the years in between.
Mm-hmm. But she did recognize that it was her furniture.
That's correct. Yeah, because some of it was obviously very old furniture.
Right.
So here's the story. So I'm there one day, and she's talking to me about being a child.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about two things in particular.
Yeah.
Now, one of them is really sad, where she talks about the fact that her sister Marguerite had rheumatic fever.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was rheumatic fever as a child when they lived in New Baltimore.
Uh-huh.
And her sister recovered, but she never fully recovered. She had pretty severe lung damage from it and had labored breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly, not within weeks, but I think within a few months or so after she recovered, she ended up passing away.
Oh,
and she remembered so vividly losing Marguerite that she cried.
Oh.
It was, yeah.
So it was like it was yesterday.
She remembers laying there with her in the bed and stroking her arm. I know this doesn't sound joyous, but I think this is a really important story, and I got a lot out of it.
How old was she? Graham.
Marguerite was, I can't remember if I think Marguerite was older than her, and I want to say that Graham was like 6, and Marguerite was 8. I have to look it up.
I didn't know that.
I know, right?
I mean, I knew she had a sister, but I keep forgetting.
Yeah, but that's how, like, powerful and fresh the memories can be sometimes when someone has Alzheimer's disease.
Mm-hmm.
So I really took a lot away from that experience. It was although it was painful for her,
sure,
it was a very positive experience for me to learn that information. Here's the other one that I thought was really cool as an archaeologist and someone who studied history.
I have one for you after this.
Okay. So she talked about how I'm like, well, so I'm asking her questions, but you didn't always live in New Baltimore. She said, no, we moved. And I said, why did you move? And she said, my dad got a job with the town.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't specific, but I knew that she had moved to another. So I'm like, the town of Bethlehem? And she said, yeah, so we moved to the town of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And they lived in the house where the Christmas tree farm is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Along the, is that the Queens Creek? Or is that the Oneskathaw?
I think it's Oneskathaw. I don't think it's Queens. Is it? I don't remember.
My brain just drew a blank.
That's fine. It's near a creek.
It's possibly the Queens Creek.
Okay.
Anyway, so they had to move to the town because you had to live in the town to work for the town.
Right.
So they left New Baltimore
Uh-huh.
and they moved to the town of Bethlehem. Mm-hmm. Here's the interesting part of the story.
What's that?
I was like, what did your dad do? She said he worked on the highway department. My dad paves the roads.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And she started speaking in present tense, which was super interesting.
Oh, that's an interesting switch.
My dad paves the roads. And I'm like, so, I'm trying to just ask basic questions, but it's just fascinating to have these conversations with people.
Right.
So I'm like, so blacktop? And she said, no, it's not blacktop. Like you think of blacktop.
Like you think of it.
It's called macadam, which I had heard of macadam roads.
Uh-huh.
But had not heard that term used in a very long time. She said, it's very bad. Mom can't wash his clothes with anybody else's clothes. His clothes have to be washed separately, especially separate from us kids. Because there's bad chemicals that he uses to make the roads, and they don't want us to be exposed to those chemicals.
Especially us kids.
I thought that was amazing.
That's really...
Well, she had a brother, Uncle Don, who you never knew, but
But still.
But I knew him. I met him. So, yeah. So, isn't that cool?
That's so weird. It's like she just bounced back to being a child.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought that we were talking about Marguerite because Marguerite's photo was hanging on the wall in the living room in an oval frame with.
Oh, that was her?
Yep.
I remember that.
The picture of the child, that's Marguerite.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know, right?
So I was 10 when she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember literally the very last conversation I had with her. It was super, super soon. Like, I had turned 10, and then she passed away, like, really recent after that.
She died in September.
Yeah. So, wasn't it September 7th?
It was. You keep going and
No, I know.
I can't pull it out of my head for some reason.
That's okay.
Yes, it was September 7th because it was just I think Dad was just a week before. It was September 7th.
Yeah, which is interesting because that's Wyatt's birthday.
Yeah, and that was just a week. Her and Dad died 20 years and 1 week apart.
Yeah. And so, the very last conversation I had with her, she was in her hospice bed, so that's why I know it was super soon. And she was using a stress ball with, like, she was squeezing her hand.
Yeah.
And I was nervous. I was 10. I didn't realize what was happening with her entirely. So I remember.
And just for the listener, she was on hospice in the hospital bed, but had no, like, there were no monitors or cords.
No IV, nothing.
No, it was nothing like that hooked up to her.
It was simply for comfort, I think. Because, like, you could raise the back up and down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I was sitting in the living room with her, and you, Dad, and Grandma were outside for something. I was sitting in the living room with her, and first of all, one thing that really freaked me out was that she called me by my name.
I told you.
Yeah. She's like, Kessie girl, come here. Come sit next to me.
There were some people that she just, she lost a lot of memories, but there were certain people that she just managed to hold on to. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she handed me the stress ball, and she's like, do you know what it is? And I was like, it's a stress ball. You squeeze it just to work out your hands or to relieve stress.
Because you actually had a kid in school with you that had a stress ball in the classroom.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was.
I do. I remember.
Okay. But she was like, when my dad, her father, was in the hospital, he also had a stress ball.
Okay.
And she started telling me the story of how for some reason, he couldn't squeeze it just enough. Like, there was something wrong with his hands or he was in pain. And she would sit there and encourage him to squeeze it and be like, you can do it, Dad. Come on, you can squeeze it. And she was telling me about how she would come into his room, like, every day until he passed away and help him squeeze the stress ball. And I don't know why. I don't remember any other conversation that I ever had with her except for that one.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting because in that moment, she sounded present tense as if she was talking today.
And like she was teaching you something. She was telling you that story for a reason.
And I wasn't sure if it was because she recognized me as being her great-granddaughter. Great? Yes. Yeah. Or if it was just because it was just the time period that her brain was in at that moment.
Yeah.
But that was really interesting to me just because of the significance that my brain holds with it, obviously. But yeah, that was something that I thought was really cool, was just remembering that, like, I don't know how old she was when her dad passed away. I don't know squat about her dad.
I can't pull out. Her mother died in the early 70s, and I think her dad predeceased her mother. Yeah. By the way, her mother's name was Bertha.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It is really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I talk about my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who I was very close to and grew up with, she died on Thanksgiving. And I always whenever people find that out, they're always like, oh, so Thanksgiving must be really sad for you. It's not.
I was about to say.
Because it was her favorite holiday. I was like, no, she totally planned that.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I got to make it to Thanksgiving. That's the day, man. You know?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, it just makes Thanksgiving more somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really eat pumpkin pie, but I help my mother make them.
Apple pie's where it's at.
And I see everybody eating pumpkin pie. My grandmother loved pumpkin pie. And when I see it, and I see people eating it in particular on Thanksgiving, it just makes me smile.
You tell me every time that you see it, you're like, my grandmother loved this.
Yeah.
Like every single time that you see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because of how recent or how hard it was, because Dad was sick for over a year.
Yeah.
And that changed
Which is not long.
No.
For people with traumatic encephalopathy or FTD or ALS. He went extremely quickly in the overall picture of what head injuries and what FTD and ALS look like. But it was still a long time.
Right. And
to not know what was going on, especially.
I don't know if it was because of how different those holidays were that year, just because of him being sick, or if it's because I knew how much those holidays meant to him afterward.
Yeah.
But the holidays, I'm sorry, they suck now. I have, not to be not joyous at this very moment, but I have a really hard time with the holidays.
But I think that's okay.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying And
it won't always be that way.
No.
Hopefully.
No, yeah. Christmas was Dad's thing.
Oh, he was totally...
100%.
Totally all about Christmas.
Yep.
All about Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The decorating.
Loved
the
it.
wrapping presents.
Yeah.
Our
house was always the most decorated in the neighborhood.
Yes. Minus the blow-ups.
Although...
Right,
no, we didn't do the blow-ups because we couldn't afford them. But he had the ladder out.
Uh-huh.
He had lights along the roof line, around the windows. Yeah. Remember when we used to have a wreath hanging on every window on the front of the house?
Yes.
We had the Christmas tree in the living room. We had a Christmas tree on the front porch.
Uh-huh. But even... we couldn't do the blow-ups, but... For a long time, he wanted the shivering penguins.
The shivering penguins.
That was a blow-up that was at Lowe's or something.
Home Depot or something. I can't remember.
And it was this automated or this animatronic blow-up where it actually showed shivering penguins sitting in your front yard.
Showing.
Yeah.
He thought it was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
I think he thought it was funny just because I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I think it was just one of those things where he just thought it was, but no, I guess he also just really liked it. He just loved that kind of humor, you know?
Yeah.
Snoopy on a motorcycle.
Oh, God, yeah. Snoopy's my favorite cartoon character. I love him.
A Santa Snoopy on a motorcycle.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Sorry. Excuse me. There's a bunch of things that...
So the holidays can be hard.
Yeah, but I think one of my things is I think it'll be easier when I have kids.
Sure.
Because that'll be a different kind of joy to get out of the holidays and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Shit.
Those kinds of I think that's, you just, highlighted something though, the holidays can be hard, but you can also find joyous moments
elsewhere.
Within them.
Or within them, yeah.
Yeah. The shivering penguin.
Yeah.
It was always his job his and yours to put the lights on the Christmas tree.
Or around Christmas, or even just in the winter when it would snow so much, and we would make igloos in the front yard.
Yeah. Or go sledding.
Or we would go sledding, build the snowman, and then sled into the snowman.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Because we would take our neighbors to the hill that was behind the high school.
Yeah.
build a
or
snowman.
over to the park.
Yeah, build a snowman and just plow right into it.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
A soft snowman.
No, no, not. No, we made sure that it was actually like.
No one was supposed to get injured.
No, but it was funny when some of us would like hit it and it would fly off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, the holidays are hard, but there are also great things around them.
What kind of? Because I said a little bit, but you haven't said a ton. Because one, it's been difficult, and two, well, actually, it's just been difficult.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of joys have you found after?
Since he passed away.
Yeah. You can say none. Like, that's totally reasonable, but.
I think that it's. I was raised in an environment where you talk about people who are gone. And usually when you talk about them, you say good things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's funny because you see certain personality traits in someone that remind you of that person. So with me, it's like when you do something and I'm like, okay, Paul, when you do things that are very much your father, especially the things that are very much your father that frustrate you, and you get irritated, and I say, okay, Paul, let's just take a step back.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, let's just breathe for a minute, because he was generally impatient. He had learned actually to become more patient as he got older, but he would still get frustrated. Just like you say, your bullshit tolerance is a lot lower.
Yeah.
But those are the things I find joy in these moments, like where we get to talk about him, and remember him. And I try to do it on the regular.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know, I feel like I have a harder time with it because, I don't know, I just find it more frustrating.
What do you mean?
I find it more frustrating to think about the good parts of him and, like, even when he was sick and stuff like that, but I think it's simply because of...
the pain of the loss.
Yeah, but also just, like... Oh, I know what I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Tying it in with the fact that I couldn't find other people to relate to. That was something that was really hard about it.
Yes.
Because I was 20, I had lost my dad, and there were a ton of other people that I went to school with, that I knew, whatnot, that could not relate to me in the slightest.
I was in the same situation. It's not normal, in general, to be a widow in your 40s.
Right.
It's not... It's, and I even tried to join a couple of widowers groups, and I was either the youngest one in the group and could not relate, and people were like, well, I guess I'm going to downsize, or I guess I'm just going to go to Florida for the winter, and I would be like, okay, I'm completely bankrupt. I lost everything because my husband died in his 40s, and I was his caregiver, just like you, except I wasn't retired and getting Social Security and retirement.
Right.
And I need to start a new career. Mm-hmm. So those things are still very isolating, but I'm learning how to try to move beyond them and build a new career and a new life.
Yeah.
But I think I can do that because of who I am.
Yeah.
But also because of who he allowed me to be. We had a really good marriage.
Yeah, you did.
A really good partnership.
Yeah, you guys were funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if we had had a different kind of relationship, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm doing right now.
Yeah. One of the... well, here's one, not to be sappy. Mm-hmm. One of the joys that I've gotten out of this is my relationship with you. Because, like, you've described me before as being very much my dad's child. I am very similar to him in terms of
You
my
do.
personality.
You have a lot of personality traits that are more similar to him. Not that you don't have personality traits from me. You obviously do.
Yeah.
But some of your more prominent ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ones that either propel you forward or hold you back
are his.
Are definitely him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, like, you and I had always been, I mean,
we're a very close family.
You're my mom, but you're also my best friend. Sorry.
Yeah,
but
we're a very close family. It's the same thing with your aunt, my sister, and her husband and her kids.
Yeah.
I live with my mom. It's just, we're a very close-knit family.
Yeah. So, like, before Dad had passed away, you and I had been really close.
Yeah.
But after he passed away, you are one of my people.
Right.
More so. Because, like, I have my husband. He's his own category of being my person. I have my best friends who are my category of being my person. But you are, not only my mom, but in terms of, like, blood family, you are my person. And that's a joy that I can take out of this.
And I think and it's the same for me. And I think it's an outgrowth of the fact that we were so close to begin with.
Yeah.
And that the way that we've gotten through this is by sticking together.
Yeah, we're a team, you and me.
Yeah, grief can really destroy people. It can pull families apart.
Yeah.
It can, especially death in particular, people start looking for the thing, the money, the watch, the ring,
comfort,
the house, the I want this thing from this person. I got to tell you though, there's nothing, if you don't have anything left, if you don't have any money, if you don't have any home, if you don't have anything for people to come fighting after, it makes things a lot easier to deal with, but it also kept us very close.
Right.
Like, I think my sentiment was, I need to hold her up. And I think your sentiment was, I need to hold her up. And so
that's exactly what it was.
And so here we are, holding each other up.
I remember explaining this to the counselor at my college, because I was like, I feel, not necessarily that it's my job, but I feel like I need to be able to put my mom on the pedestal that she always tried to put me onto. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with that. I was like, okay, cool. Just wanted
to talk that through with you.
Yeah.
Good chat. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I feel like I am your cheerleader, especially when it comes to, like, new ideas. Like, the I'm not going to drop it yet, but the idea that you just told me before we recorded this about the thing you want to make with the well, it's a new design, for something I want to sew. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Like, I am all about, like, the things that you
I've
make.
got the fabric picked out.
Yeah.
I've already shopped for it. Yeah.
I need yours to be, like, when you make it, I need yours to be pink.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
Of course, because that's my signature color.
Yes.
Although my favorite color usually is blue with a lot of things.
Yes.
I'm all about the pink.
Yeah.
I really am.
It's also just really complimentary to
It's a good color for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like you and I have gotten closer in a sense, I think. Which I think is kind of difficult.
But not closer like need.
No,
not closer like
reliance.
Unhealthy.
Yeah. Not codependency.
No.
But...
No, because I'll still push you.
Yes.
And you'll still push me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I still remember there was one time I was like, God, I just need you to do something for you. And that's something that I feel like I never really got the chance to say to you beforehand. But I feel like... Excuse me. I feel like we have gotten closer in a sense of... I don't know. I feel like... Here's a way I'll try and make it make sense. I feel like I'm more tuned into you. Not necessarily, like, reading your mind or anything, but sometimes.
Nobody can read this mind. I know. Your father used to struggle with the same thing. But, there are times when, Yeah. I feel like I am more... Here we go.
I feel like I'm more at an even vibration that you are.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, excuse me, we're two generally pretty different people.
We are, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like...
I wonder if our listeners think we're similar, because we're not.
I think we sound similar, just in the sense of...
We certainly look similar.
Yeah. I have most of your face. But... Oh my god.
Most of my face is missing, apparently.
No, that's not what I meant. I will still continuously make the joke that your phone cannot open by face IDing my face.
I know.
I don't look
really,
that much like you.
But it's kind of surprising. I mean, that's how good the Face ID on iPhone is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I
can't open your phone either.
No.
No.
But I feel like we are... Shit, I had a word. I had a way to describe it and it's gone.
I think that the challenge that we've been through has pulled us more into sync with each other, and we're able to communicate with each other better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's one of the joys of grief, is that if you can learn to find the positives, if you see the success in coming out on the other side,
mm-hmm.
that can bond you, and pull you forward.
I feel like we've also become...
Because you value certain things better, and you're also able to say, nope, I don't need that kind of crap in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like you and I have also become more strong as individuals. As much as we're a team and we work really well together, I feel like when we're not together, I feel like we still... I don't know, I feel like we've almost gotten better at being individuals in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because, like, I graduated, I moved, I have my own business, I started a new job, all the individual stuff that has happened. And, like, you're doing your business and you're...
Because we want to be together.
Yes.
And we want to enjoy being together.
Yeah.
But I want to propel you, and I want to see you succeed as you.
And that's what I want for you as well. So I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. You're smelling what I'm stepping on.
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're not that similar.
No. We're really not.
Mm-mm. Oh my god.
This is a good conversation.
Yeah. Oh, I think I needed this.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow we're having strawberry shortcake.
Yes, we are.
And we will drink Angel's Envy.
Yes, we will.
In honor of your dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might need to stay there for a little bit because I am a lightweight. I cannot drive after having...
Yeah, and your husband's got tomorrow off.
Yes.
So he'll be able to drive you home. Unless he's been drinking Angel's Envy. Then I might need to find you a ride home. Someone's got to drive you home.
I'll call my cousin.
Yeah.
She can drive us. But then our car would be... Oh, God.
No, just get her and her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. They can pick us up. Because then, like, if we go there with the car, we can't bring it back.
But if you go there with the car, one of them can follow.
Oh, yeah.
And one, yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Talking through this.
God, is it raining again?
This was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it a lot.
Are we good?
We are.
All right.
And on that note.
And on that note.
This has been an episode of Under the Sun and Moon with Michelle and Kes. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.